Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of our quarantine film study. Today, we're going to get away from the quarterback position we've been into the last couple episodes and bring you something that just does not get discussed nearly enough, and that is the special teams side of things. We're so excited to have with us a guest that I got to work with the Philadelphia Eagles. I remember my time prior to that being with the Jets. He was considered the man, the myth, the legend. His Bills units were tearing up the league. We were frightened of him. And then obviously I got the privilege of working with him in our stop together after that. Without further ado, Bobby April is with us, and we're going to talk about the New Orleans Saints explosive kick and punt returns. They had the rookie Deonte Harris. So what we did is we did a cut up here. We found all of their 10-plus punt returns and all their 25-plus yardage kick returns. We're going to show those to you. And Coach, really excited to have you on again to break those things down and talk to us about what you see and why these things were as explosive as they were. So what we want to do here is just get into the film. But before we do that, we want to give a thank you again to GamePass from the NFL. They are the reason that we're able to put this piece on and share this with you. So again, thank you to GamePass for that. And again, we'll jump right into the film, guys. Let's talk some ball. Coach, are you ready?
Absolutely. Ready to go.
All right. Perfect. So we have an early season game here. We're going to do the kick return side first. New Orleans is playing Seattle up in Seattle. And what I wanted to just kind of start with here from you, Coach, is can you outline some of the differences in the rules now and things that we're seeing? Because we have 8 players here for New Orleans up on this side of the 40. So what kind of things are changing, and why are we seeing some formations different when it comes to kick returns?
Well, what they wanted to do was try to decrease the ability of the return team to have a vertical rush at the kickoff coverage team. So they wanted to put more guys closer to the ball so they had a run back and then kind of engage the coverage team from a standing position, not a moving position. So it was more like a pass protection block than coming from deep and running at the coverage, where it's more like an ISO or a kick-out block. So they put the 8 guys up there within the 40-yard line. So you can see the 6 guys at the 50, and then the 2 at the 40. There's a couple of different formations people use, a 5-3 or whatever, but nobody can pass the 40-yard line. The return team's 40, where the 2 guys are back in that deal. They cannot pass that 40-yard line until the ball is kicked. So you can see they're moved up a little bit. And the deeper guys. And that's the whole purpose of it, to eliminate, a coverage guy moving in one direction, a return guy moving in the exact opposite direction, and then having a head-on collision. So they thought getting more people up would increase the type of block where you ran back, and by the time you got in position, you turned around and you had to pass block the guy. So there wasn't as much contact. And that's the reason for the rule. They do still have 2 guys back that are blockers. When you open the whole thing, you'll see it, and then 1 returner. So those guys are making similar blocks. And some teams have used smaller guys because they possibly could field the ball, and other guys have used some linebackers and tight ends and things. So they haven't totally gotten out of that vertical versus vertical collision, but they eliminated it to a great degree.
Fair enough. Well, let's do a little glossary thing here real quick and just kind of help people with some of the terminology that you and I are going to be using on this. So can we just start giving the labels that you would give these guys by their position here for the Saints return unit? We'll start here on the bottom of the 50 and work our way up. So what would you label this position here?
I would call that a left tackle.
A left tackle. And then as we move up here, left guard.
Left center. Right center. right guard, right tackle, left end, right end.
Right end. All right. And then over here on the coverage unit, as we go through, just to show people here, we're going to do this count by where the ball's at and split it left and right. So from a return perspective, right, we're doing the Saints returners here. How would you label these guys over here to the left of the ball?
Yeah, well, the rules in the NFL now is it has to be 5x5. So that's probably different from what your guys are going to be seeing. But anyway, I counted from outside in. So that would be an L1, L. The next one is L2. Next one is L3. Next one is L4, L5, R5, R4, R3, R2, R1.
All right. Well, thank you for going through that. Just one of those things that as we go through this and we're talking about things, just want everybody to be able to follow us here. So let's take a look at how this Saints return comes together. And there's the two guys you mentioned back here, the additional blockers.
Yeah, see, they still have an opportunity to move forward with their path and hit somebody at, really at top speed, where you see everybody else is coming into a absorb type of block. And that's the main reason for it. You can almost see, would have to get their numbers, but the guys in the back look like they're all smaller players. I've seen a lot of different looks, but anyway, the first thing about the Saints return, and it's pretty obvious, you have to have talent. And this returner, I think, watching him through the year, of course, I'm from New Orleans, so I've probably got to see him a little more than other people. He's really got about everything you want in a returner. He's got the first thing you have to do. You have to catch the ball and accelerate to the 20 as fast as possible. If the blockers can hold off enough that you can hit that 20 at full speed stride length, you got a chance of having a good return pretty much every time. That's hard to do, obviously, but he runs, with tremendous burst. You can see his balance there. He's got really good vision of where that seam is. But I think the biggest thing about this guy, the best thing about him is his speed, because he goes from 0 to 60 real fast. But he is really courageous. He goes up into some what I used to call the briar patch, about as good as anybody. And he's a little guy. He's a smaller guy. So this guy's fantastic. Now, the one thing they do that I think makes every return, it makes every return or every play successful, is if you create space. So let's just say that was an offensive play and the offensive line was knocking them off the ball. They're creating space for the runner. Well, if you can stymie them when they enter contact, that's the same as a running play, knocking people off the ball, because you're creating space.
Sure.
So he's going to be able to haul up in there pretty good. It's like stopping Marcus Allen on an ISO when they're knocking him off the ball. That thing's going to push up the field. And it's the same thing here. If you can create the space, you're really knocking them off the ball on a running play. And this is well blocked. This is well blocked. You have a double on the R5 and the L5. Those probably were. This is probably game planned on the guy. Both guys inside the hashes are doubled. It was probably. It looks like they're the first two guys down. It was probably game planned to some extent. Now, where they really pick up the advantages of this returner, he outruns that L2 coming off the edge. So consequently, the guy that's to the returner's left, number 27, he doesn't have to go block that guy. So he can come up on an unblocked player in the hole, which is the R1. So when he's able to, because you got double teams on the other guys. Now, the guys that are doing a fantastic job are the right tackle and right guard, which are right there on the 20-yard line. Actually, that's the right tackle and the right halfback. They're making single blocks at the point of attack, and they're holding their guys off and sustaining their blocks, which allows the guy to go up in there. So the fact that he can outrun that L2 gives them, and they have two double teams. That's pretty hard to do in football. They're able to turn two guys loose on the backside, still get a hat on 1, 2, and 3 to the right, and they're going to have a pretty good play.
No, I'm right there with you on this. You talk about creating space. I mean, again, that's the alley that they've created right now. And again, you have the one free player here, but you have a lead blocker ready for him.
Right. So that guy can't fill that hole because he's got a blocker on him. And the reason he's on him, you could see if you go all the way back, Dan, if you go back, number 27 is looking to block that guy because he's the most dangerous threat. And the foul player, the R1, the L2 is more dangerous than the R1. But you can see him looking, if you go back a little bit more, he's looking to seal that off. When he sees he can't make it, boy, that's a really good judgment by that kid, because most people would think that that guy coming down and squeezing that tight would be a threat. This number 27's ability to recognize that and his judgment is phenomenal. The other thing that the returner does, boy, he presses that thing before he breaks. So he holds that number 2. He doesn't allow, he doesn't start breaking to the right immediately. If you notice what number 2 does, what the returner does, take him all the way back to the catch. He goes at least 10 yards vertical before he does any break. And that is so critical to the success of the return. And you know what? You think, that's easy to teach. Boy, it's not. It's not. And he pushes that thing hard enough that you see where the guy starts to break down a little bit, the L2, because he's not really sure what's going to happen. And so he can't, if the guy just went on a diagonal, number 11, went on the diagonal on the catch and ran to the hole, that guy would just keep coming. But because he stems that thing up there, watch him break down. Right, he's starting to break down right in there. He's broken down there, and now he's going to get outrun.
I mean, just an excellent set of decisions here by both 11 and 27.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really, really outstanding play.
And then you mentioned the contact balance. So he's getting knocked around in here. So we've got contact there, he stays up, contact there, he stays up.
Oh, yeah.
To gain yards for 5'6" and listed at 170. Well, questionable, but listed at 170. He's certainly taking his fair share of hits and pushing through.
Yeah, they're just trying to get him a scholarship. He's about 145.
So when you brought up that the young man, the returner Deonte Harris, really stood out to you. Can I ask you a question? What does that do to the other 10 players on a unit when these other players know that the person back there is a legitimate weapon? Does that change anything versus if they had somebody back there that can't execute like that?
Well, I remember I was fortunate to coach at USC, and I remember an interview with Ron Yeri, if you remember him. This goes way back to the 67 SC team, but he said in the interview, and I got to know him a little bit as well and asked him about that. He said the guys on the line, when they blocked for O.J. Simpson, he said they knew if they hustled enough to just sustain their blocks, they didn't have to. Although Ron Yeri was the first guy picked in the draft. But he said they didn't have to maul anybody. They just had to hustle enough to stay on their guy that O.J. was going to do the rest. And I think that's about sums it up. It'll create a greater motivation to hustle because you just have to reach a stalemate. And hustling, you can at least get a stalemate by hustling. And I think that's what it does. It gives those guys hope, that they can make their block, and they can do it long enough with enough relentlessness that the guy's going to do a good job. And it certainly plays into the mental part of the game, which the mental part at that level, once these guys are qualified to get in, it's all mental at that point. You can see there, see how he stemmed that thing. You don't know where that thing's going. And he pushes that thing for a good 12 yards. I think it was caught in the end zone. So, yeah, it's caught about 4 deep.
And he takes that thing out almost clear to the 15.
What's that?
And he's taking that thing out at least 12 yards.
Yeah, close to the number, the letters there. So you can see this guy, because nobody's getting a free shot. See, they're coming back and they're doing a really good job of, I think, sustaining their blocks and fitting into their blocks pretty good. That they have to. It's kind of like a nutcracker drill, the Oklahoma drill. Unless the offensive guy just totally gets whooped, the offense usually wins because the guy's got to come off the block while the guy's blocking him and the returner's hitting him at the same time. That thing usually carries for at least 3 or 5 yards. Absolutely. So that's what they've sort of created is a 10-on-10 nutcracker or Oklahoma drill, if people know what I'm talking about on that particular drill.
Oh, I'm sure we have a few people out there that do.
Well, the terms have changed. I'm almost all my terms, I still refer to, shows like Andy Griffith, and they don't.
Yeah, that one I'm not able to keep up with you on there.
Yeah. So my kids they don't know what I'm talking about. So anyway, but you can see if you play this one through. It's very similar. The return is very similar. You can see here 27. They missed a guy. They get a wrap right here. They get a wrap, and he's able to get up on a more dangerous guy than the L2 right in here. And I don't think he whoops the guy, as I remember. I don't think he totally whoops the guy, but he hits him enough that.
Let me bring that back. I want to show that piece you're talking about here. All right, so we have.
Actually, it's the L3, I think, that wraps.
All right.
No, it was a 4. You were right.
So 4 comes over.
That one's able to come into the hole. So they lose him with 27. He's able to come into the hole, but that guy is more dangerous, and that's blocked. The backside guy that's got a free hit is always more dangerous than the front side guy. So this is what I used to tell the guys. If I'm walking through the alley and it's a dark alley in a bad neighborhood, I at least got a chance on somebody that I'm facing. But somebody that comes from behind the garbage disposal and I can't see, he's more dangerous. So I want him to pick up that guy, because his vision now, once he made that break, is going to be right through that double team and these kick out or single blocks. So even though that guy's in the hole, he's got a chance to at least do something and not take a big hit. If 27 goes up and that guy running downhill is able to ear hole him, that's not good for your returner.
So 27's making some headsy plays here, 2 snaps
27 is an excellent special teams player for them. They've got 2 guys that are really kind of off the charts. This Taysom Hill, the guy that they're saying is going to replace Drew Brees, of all people to be the best special teams player. It's a backup quarterback, and then this kid number 27. Man, they're fantastic.
Can I talk to you again about these front side blocks? We've seen the fullback here and the tackle again to the right side executing these single teams. What are your thoughts here on these two, just to these 2 reps in terms of staying on and executing?
I think they're excellent. I would now, to me, I don't really know because I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure, exactly. I think I know the hole is between the 2 and the 3. I think it is. So I think the way that guy is executing that block, the way I'm talking about the right tackle, the way he's fitting in there is perfect. Now, if he's going to put his head in the hole, which is between the R3 and the R2, and that one is stepping up in there and filling. So you can see he's the one right there. If that hole is set to go in there, that's exactly what the right tackle should be doing. Now, if that play goes inside of him, the defender from Seattle is going to be able to make that play. So, and it will go inside, and I think he is the guy that makes the play. I think he comes off that right tackle's play. But I'm saying that right tackle, go back again, Dan, that right tackle is doing a phenomenal job because the hole is between the 2 and the R2 and the 3. Now, he doesn't know that 27 is going to get eaten up by somebody else. He's anticipating that guy. Yeah. So you can't end up, compromising and saying, well, you know what, you could do a little bit better there, right tackle. Because I've had this a million times with guys, saying, should he be entering like that? He should be entering like that if you've designed the hole between the 2 and the 3. Now, could he take him on a little thicker? Yeah. But that to me is a tremendous block to where the hole's being run. And don't compromise every time, this guy comes off the play and makes the play. He's making the play in a hole where the ball's not supposed to be run. So, yes, the right tackle, I think, is doing a phenomenal job.
And then talk to me what you're seeing when you see a returner get in the mix like this, get past first contact, and fight like he did for seems like another 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah. Like I say right here, come on back with it again, Dan. See, now this is going through the alley in a bad neighborhood. Even though that number 1's right there, he has a way of manipulating not taking a big hit. Where that guy that was running downhill, that guy could have ear-told him with a full speed contact, and that decreases your ability to fly up in there full speed.
So again, just watching here, the 4 scraping over the top and what 27 does, and he takes the 4 out of the play.
Yeah.
And now 11's able to make R1 miss.
He does something to manipulate it and not take a big hit. And they do a great job on the backside of eliminating those opportunities for, headhunters is not a good word anymore, but allowing those guys that come missile down in there and try to blow it up.
Sure. We labeled this whole film study as explosive, and that category is 25 plus on kick return, and got to give a lot of credit to the returner getting him over that 25-yard mark with that last little bit of finish there.
Oh, no doubt. Well, the key to the coverage is the kicker or punter, and the key to the return is the returner. And if you've got to go and just pause for 1 second, I remember a play. Of course, everybody knows who Deion Sanders is. I was fortunate to coach him my first year in the NFL. And he had a 100-yard return against San Francisco, and Chip Lowmiller was the kicker, and they used to hang the ball. I mean, he literally hung it up around 4 or 5 on the kickoff, which was unbelievable. You could use a 2-inch tee in those days, and they kicked from the 35. And I'm telling you, every one of their guys, except their full players, were inside the 20. And Deion broke it for 100 yards. And when I got back and graded the film, there was only one guy that made his block.
Jeez Louise.
He hit it fast enough. He split 2 guys. He outran the full players, and he outran everybody else coming back, rolling the post, and it was over. He did basically the whole thing by himself.
We're gonna find that. We're gonna find that clip now, Coach.
I tell you what,
we're gonna find a way to dig this thing up and share it with people.
Yeah, it was at. I'll tell you when it was. It was in 1991. Excuse me, it wasn't San Francisco. It was the Washington Redskins. Low Miller had played for the Redskins. It was the opening game in 1991 at RFK.
All right. We will find a way. We're going to try. Well, when we do, we'll try to cut it up and link it in the description, because now I think everybody's going to want to see that thing.
Yeah. Well, he was pretty special.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. So we're out of the Seattle game now. The Saints are now at home. And we're going to see Mr. Harris again scrambling forward to pick up some yardage here. And is the end copy good for you on these returns, Coach? I keep moving that way.
Every play is good for me. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll look at one thing up here. I know that sounded pretty pompous, didn't it? I meant the view. I'm used to watching and coaching from both sides. If you look up here, one thing that I think people, and I'm not sure what the Saints are totally trying to do, but that 2-3 twist on the backside, you'll see the right tackle and right guard. It looks like they try to zone that off, and a lot of people do try to do this. Go ahead and run it, Dan.
So just what you're saying here with number 2 and number 3.
It looks like they do some type of twist, and they lose it a little bit. But, yeah, take it through, and you can watch what the guard and the tackle do, the right guard and the right tackle for the Saints. Oh, wait, I'm wrong. I'm wrong on this. It's the right. It was the right. It was the right end.
Okay.
See how they're on 2 and 3, and then there's a little bit of lane exchange. Yeah, right. The right end and the right tackle. I thought it was the right tackle and right guard. Come on back, and there's a little bit of lane exchange right in here by the L2 of the R2 and the R3. Yeah. And it looks like they try to zone this off a little bit right here. And carry it through. See, he tries to go to. That's really tough to do in space. Now, they got the position to do it. I would say if you anticipate twist, I would prefer to have the guys at a different length and use what I would call a sickle pull. So I would say have the right tackle. That's the right end. Have the right end post his guy. In other words, step up and just drive block the 3, and have the right tackle set a little bit deeper, which he is. And when that 2 goes inside, when that R2 goes inside, you just do old school, sickle pull, where he pulls around the base block and folds back in there. To me, it's always been easier to do that. The practice time it takes to pull this off, because you almost have to be like offensive linemen or punt protection guys. You almost have to be hip to hip to pull this stuff off. Now, they pull it off pretty good, except the right tackle's not able to make his block.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a crease in there. They're not quite hip.
Well, you can't come hip to hip in space like you think you can. And I'm not even sure that's what they're doing. It kind of looks like what they're doing. Now, this guy, the Saints, Darren Rizzi, I mean, he knows what he's doing. This guy is a tremendous coach. I'm not saying that, because I'm just saying from my own experience. And I think they're manning it, because later we'll see a couple what I call sickle pulls. I don't even know if they're right calls, but this is it. Now, this thing is designed to break back, and watch how this number 11 stems this thing. And he keeps pressing to keep that guy out of there. Now, this right here, he stems it up and he starts getting everybody flowing to the returns left. And then when he breaks this thing, and this guy that broke through this thing is a free hitter, to get outside of that guy is, in most cases, pretty much impossible.
And then how he kept his balance from there and turned back upfield.
He's like a gymnast. I mean, this guy's really something. That's really a phenomenal play. And his vision to, he also, when he sees he can't get outside of people, he takes it vertical in a heartbeat. So right here you see it. Now, first of all, it's hard to imagine when he starts breaking to his right, it's hard to imagine that he would judge that he would get outside of this guy. Right here, but he realizes he can. And then he sees he's not going to be able to get outside the next guy, and he just goes vertical, which he should do. Because from there, he goes from the 18 to about the 27.
Yeah.
Picks up about 9 yards. Well, he really picks up, they really, Dallas has got to be thinking, man, we got to play inside the 20. And now we're giving the Saints offense pretty decent field position where we gave them, poor field position. So he picked up a 1.5 firsts kind of on his own,
Yeah, and that's the kind of the hidden yardage of this thing by the returner here on this one. Again, like you said, at least 9 yards all by himself here, just with an unbelievably athletic play. I do have to pull you back on this side, Coach. Want to hear a little bit about your thoughts about the left center here and this block, and what you think he might be trying to do.
Okay. You know what? I think he's really screwing up. Now, he gets help by, unless this is totally designed. Lindy Infante used to have a term that would say, either this is the dumbest coach in the world or the smartest coach in the world, because I'm not figuring out how he's doing it. But so I would say what he's doing, because I think Darren Rizzi is one of the smartest coaches in the world. To me, he doesn't ever get position on this guy. He's kind of meandering around instead of, like, the right center is getting himself in position to make his block. The left center is kind of drifting, and I don't know, but in most cases, so you got to say they're doing a beautiful thing. They're inviting that guy. I'm talking about the coverage player, the L5. Yep. They're inviting him to run way to the left, and the right center is just building a wall block to the right, and they're counting on number 11 making that set. That's all and that's pretty hard to do. There
was an element to it that looks like one of those wall returns on the punt side, and that's why I wanted to bring your eyes to it, because like I said, seems like it's either an influence wall, and again, a lot of trust in your returner, or a complete bust that ended up looking pretty good.
Well, I think it's how they got it, but my philosophy would be totally different, and I'll tell you what it is, and people can agree or disagree. My philosophy was always to try to create as much space as possible, and to give the guy an edge, to give the defender an edge to get vertical was never what I wanted to do. And so they're trusting their returner a lot on this. And obviously the Saints know what they're doing, because the center ends up making a tremendous block.
No doubt about it. You ready for everybody's favorite camera angle, little Chicago Bears?
That's where I'm at. Now, I'd say on this one, as we go through it, the backside blocks, I remember being critical, to what their success is.
And we're seeing a little different formation for them here. That their guards have dropped back a little bit.
Yeah. And you know what, Dan? There's a couple of different looks. As long as there's 8 inside that 40 when the ball's kicked, and they have to line up there too. They can't run. They can't run up in there. They have to be aligned and then stay in there till the ball's kicked.
Again, you talk about his vertical stem and his willingness to bring it right up.
Well, to fly into the briar patch, his speed and his courage, boy, that makes for.
He's accelerating like into contact at the 28-yard line.
Yeah, and he's a little guy. I mean, he's a little guy. You got to say they're backside guys. Don't ever allow them to get ear holds, And you see, run this back again.
Yes, sir.
Watch the left guard. And people, again, can disagree because what we saw before was that left center it was a scheme. But run it back right there. The way that left guard took on that L5, and it's almost in the same position. That's how I would have had the left center block that L5 on the play before.
Sure.
Where they kind of turned it into a punt return play. To me now, I wouldn't feel comfortable with giving them that much space to get vertical.
Now, with these double teams that they're creating here,
yeah,
what do you think about the count in terms of praying these three are going to execute again 3 over 3, huh?
Well, and yeah, they're single blocks. Their single blocks at the point of attack have been phenomenal. Where I think there's a tremendous advantage to what they're doing. Run it back again.
Yes, sir.
They are not blocking 2 guys on the backside, and they're able to pick up that off return of number 27 and make him a front side player. So it's almost like a counter OT where your backside tight end. When you run that counter OT, and I don't even know if people run it anymore, but if somebody's streaming off that backside, that tight end who's pulling with the guard and tackle, he's got to turn back and block that guy, right? So that's really what this play is. If that tight end can always get to the front side of that, and 27 can always get to the front side, and they're able to double team 2 guys, and it's probably their 2 best players, Chicago's, because they're certainly not afraid to single block anybody at the point of attack. You're going to have a pretty good play. Now, combine that with, they're all in pretty good position making these blocks, and 27's able to go up into the hole to get the fill player. They've got a chance.
And just looking at the leverage of these guys being inside here seems to be that this is the intended direction.
Yeah. That's what it looks like to me, right in the alley. But, again, that's tough to do on the backside. If you run it back, the guy number 3 ends up unblocked to an extent.
Yeah.
Because he, 35 does a nice job of sorting and picking up some things. So a lot of really good judgment by their guys. And
you're talking about back here, just to confirm. So we got 35 back here and how he passes this off.
Yeah.
So New Orleans here down.
But the point is they're kicking the ball in the middle, and they're running a sideline return. So there's a lot of space over there. And they're getting 7 guys if you count the blocker. You got running back here. So you got 2, 4, 6, 7. You count this blocker, 27. You got 7 guys to that side. To the sideline side. Okay, you could say you really only got 5 because that double team's happening on the backside. But still, you got a pretty good situation where that guy in a hat on a hat with no penetration is going to allow that guy to get it going.
No doubt. No doubt. Well executed on that one. So we see our 8 up again. Now we've got a kick that has not been middle of the field, so we're putting this one outside the numbers.
Yep.
So what are you thinking there when you get pinned into a side like this?
Well, the Saints are going to prove me wrong on everything. We would convert that thing into a return going up that left sideline. They bring it all the way back because what will happen is if you're blocking to go to the field, and like I said before, that 5 on those, when you double team those 2 5s, you're going to end up being short on the backside some kind of way. So right here, the L1 and the L2, one of them's going to be unblocked. And one of them has to make that play. Now, from my experience, that we would have been tackled at the 15-yard line. Or I would count on, if I didn't block the L1, if we had no way of blocking the L1, and they kicked a pretty decent kick to our left, I wouldn't count on that guy missing the play. But, like I said, they know what they're doing. Now the kid here, to be able to run away from it and go all the way back again, I think the kid does such a good job of not allowing this guy to take the angle to the field. I'm talking about the L1 from Atlanta, because he still stems it up at him. He makes him stay in his lane before he breaks. And that defensive player's making a pretty good play, but he just can't catch him. He just can't catch him. And then right in here, where he gets outside this too, just hit it a couple of ticks. Boom. One more. Go back just a tad. To right there for that kid to feel that he can get outside that 2, to me, is kind of amazing. So we're talking about a lot of really good coaching, and we're talking about a phenomenal return player, in my opinion. Now, the guy, the 3, to hold that block that long, all the way till the guy's right on him. The guy that's blocking, well, that might be the 4 right there. They kind of twisted or something there. But to sustain that block that long, that's pretty damn good.
And there's your Taysom Hill.
That's Taysom Hill, yeah. And they're talking about this guy Breeze would
we engage here at the 20.
The Saints starting quarterback.
Yeah, to engage at the 25-yard line, reestablish at the 20.
No penetration.
Stick on that.
Yeah, and then what he does, because he's able to sustain it, he cuts off some of the pursuit. Like somebody's going to run into his guy right there. Now, how that guy figured he could get around that 2 when he did is pretty incredible, really.
Can't wait to see this from the end zone.
Yeah, if you stop it in there at a point where he decides to turn on the jets, because normally if he felt and you watch him over and over, he's got tremendous judgment. If he felt that he couldn't get outside, he'll turn it up. So I'm saying here, somewhere in here, he realizes that he's going to actually that's the R1 that he's getting outside of right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like he could get outside of this player here.
Yeah, and you'll see if you bring him just 2 yards in the return, he decides right there he's going to go outside of him. Normally he would go up in that hole and take everybody for a ride if he could. And this may just be a mistake by him because it's so good. You go, wait a second, he's not going to be able to get outside that guy.
And there's a little bit of this forward lean here. You know, he's got the hips.
Oh no, he's got him in a bad position.
He gets him committed like he's going upfield, and then that being able to put his foot in the ground right there and come off of that. Oh my goodness.
Well, the one thing he does, and the one thing he probably is trained to do, you know, that stick step to get them leaning one way or nodding one way is a tremendous tool for this kid.
Again, I want to bring this thing back. I just want everybody to watch what he does to manipulate this defender here. Convinces him he's going upfield and comes right around him.
Yeah, that's like a post corner, just stick step move to get the guy to flip his hips one way and you break the opposite. And that's no different than route running, you know.
Man, special.
Very special because to actually do it. But that's where a guy can, you know, you could actually show, and I've done it before myself, you could actually show a guy running a route. It could be a corner post or a post corner where he tries to get the defender to turn his hips one way and break the opposite. That's what you're doing in space as a runner.
Sure.
And that's what this kid can really do. You'll see some, if we're not going to nearly be able to finish this thing, Dan, but you'll see some stick steps by this kid that are phenomenal.
So we'll bring this to the end zone copy and see this one here through. So again, they get their double teams up here at the point of attack.
See, there's a stick step again. If you go back, he stick steps this free guy.
Jeez,
he sticks at him with his left foot, and he freezes the guy just a hair. Right there. Because in most cases, that's a tackle at the, you know, he's going to drag him a little bit, but they're going to make the play inside the 20. Now, the guy that does a tremendous job running back is the right halfback. Watch this kid sustain this block in space on this. I think it's the R2.
So you got the free player. You're right, R2.
You know, run it one more time too. You can see that, you know, when he cuts it back against and goes back into those downhill runners, because they've got that thing so well blocked on the backside, it gives him a lot of confidence to just go flying back up in there. And he's got enough space now that he feels that he's got room to kind of manipulate some people and not give them a good shot. You know, he's bobbing and weaving. He's not taking that blindside hit. They're not collapsing on him. So the backside of this, when you got a runner that is willing to go up the field vertical, you got to do a good job on that backside. He'll be okay with anybody he faces that's in his face. But to keep him being an aggressive downhill runner, you got to protect his backside.
He clearly feels like he has that protection.
Yeah, because he runs up in there. I mean, he's like a Carnell Lake at Auburn. If you guys remember the way he would fly up into that hole, that's how this kid runs.
Another acceleration. You mentioned the 20 before. Every one of these reps, he has absolutely been hitting the accelerator into the 20.
You got to fly up in there. That's the first thing in a returner. You got to have that.
.27 again, making the adjustment here after the Niners player comes clean.
Yep. 27 is just a phenomenal player for him.
Ends up taking out 2 by chance.
When you get these drag downs they're going to make contact, and he's going to get an extra 5 or 6.
That's speed, and again, he's always on somebody's shoulder. No one's gotten a clean hit on him yet. Really coming away impressed with this young man.
Yeah, no, he's a special guy. He's a special guy.
And that unit's fighting for him. I mean, they are staying on blocks and repositioning.
Yeah.
And again, here's an opportunity he sees to take this thing outside, and these decisions that he makes.
Yeah, now this is just as phenomenal athleticism, because the reality is, if you run it back, the R2 from Tennessee, he's doing a pretty good job of compressing the hole. Now, we don't need to talk about this because we're talking about the coverage. The guy I would say should be a little stronger. If you go back and you want the guys to coach it, come on back and let's look at the end zone, and let's look at the block of the right tackle on the R3.
Okay. So again, we got right tackle, R3.
You see how right there, how he's got his body turned? Now, I don't know if that thing's supposed to cut back or not. I'm going to say, just by the way he has his body turned, that thing was supposed to go vertical.
You're saying with this guy's hips turned to the sideline, you're expecting that to come in behind him?
No, I'm thinking that this is totally freelance by 11.
Okay.
Because I see everybody on the right of the Saints building inside. They have nobody coming out to block the one, and it's a bounce play, or it looks like a bounce play. But you can see, they're blocking all 5 players on the left. See that guy's going up to, and he's going up to that L1. The left halfback's going up to that L1, and everybody else is blocked. So as this kid goes up, I don't know what tells him to break this thing back, but he does. Now, the point I'm going to make, if that thing is designed to go back, it works out anyway. But the right tackle and the right halfback, those 2 widest guys on the right, him and him, they have got to hit those guys squarer and thicker. They can't allow that kind of penetration, because that, all things being equal, and all things aren't equal with this guy, that's going to be a dead play. And right there where that R1 is, that guy needs to recognize and put himself in sky force in a hurry. So if you're going to run that play, and here's the thing, and maybe they are tricking him, and I've seen people, try to trick him. All right, I'm going to come back. I'm going to build way inside, so they'll really squeeze, and then our guy will outrun him. I don't think that's the way to go. I think this thing is supposed to hit right up the left hash. If you see right up the same, I think that's where it's supposed to hit. And for whatever reason, he breaks it back, or maybe it's designed. I'm just saying, from a coaching standpoint, Darren probably wasn't real happy with the way those two widest guys entered contact, because they did give him a chance to make that play. They can't. They're not fast enough. And then they did give this guy a chance to sky force that. But, Jerry Glanville used to have a saying, we want to make sure we get a returner that when he was in grade school, when they played not it, he was never it. And that's what this guy can do.
And he absolutely attacks those angles, and you just can't catch him on that.
Well, this is why they're the number one return team in the league. They're really well coached. The guys really hustle to sustain. They get in really good position to enter contact. And they got a guy with tremendous, he's got all the qualities. I mean, he's got the vision, the balance, the courage, and the speed. That's a lot of qualities in one guy.
All right, so we got another return from him here. You get the kick outside the numbers.
Yep. Now here's a case right here where come on back again to the beginning.
Yep.
I think if you take that left end, come on, you might want to come back and identify him so you can see it. You take that left end and you do what Howard Mudd says. Get in front. I mean, really get in front. And you sustain that block. A good back is going to be able to push vertical and get yards. If you allow penetration, see, they don't allow penetration. There's nobody penetrating that thing. Now they got a free man in the hole. Of course, it's the kicker here, but they also have another. They got the one is folded back in there.
Yep.
So you usually don't get that kind of coverage from a kicker, and if you do, take your hat off to him. But what my point is, if you can sustain that block, like the left end did, that back's gonna be able to pick and choose. Here's the point I would say to the coaches, that when you sustain the blocks and you create space for the returner, you increase and enhance the returner's ability to be creative. And that's the deal with, if you can knock them off the ball and get a hat on a hat against the Trojans running the ISO with Marcus Allen, believe me, you're going to have a successful play. Now it might be 5, 7, 4, 6, but there's going to be an 80 and a 75 in there too.
And so this is the third time here against Tennessee, and we're seeing a similar concept with the double teams.
Yep.
And then again, to your point, consistently very, very little leakage. And when they do, 11 makes it right. So they lose it here.
Yeah. Now this is Dan, this is a planned bounce. This is designed to go to their right, Tennessee's left. Because you can see the left halfback, he's coming across. He's coming across and looking for inside threats. Watch him right in here. He'll come across, and he's got to end up sealing it. Now they don't have when that happens. They don't have anybody on the R1 of Tennessee. But he was going to, if he could have come across like that tight end on we've been saying the reason they're able to make these yards is they're able to get that extra hat, to the play. They're able to get 6 on 5.
Yeah. And then they're willing to take this matchup with him against that force player in space.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like getting I always use Marcus Allen because he's my go-to guy since I was at SC, and everybody knows who he is. You want that matchup of him against a safety.
Yeah.
And even if the guy gets him down, it's a great play. But if he can get to the safety, it's a great play. Now, go back on this again, because I want to show you what I was talking about the penetration. Now, I think this is tremendously well blocked by everybody except keep going, I think it's the left end. You see how he builds to the inside on the R4? I'm sorry, it's the right end. That guy. See how he builds to the inside?
Yep.
If he would hit him as thick as possible and not allow penetration, you'll ensure that this is not a negative play for the return team. Now, in so many cases, maybe not the Saints, but in so many cases, that number 51 could go up there and make that play.
Yep.
And again, it's another play inside the 20. So to me, if I was going to block it, and again, whether that's what he was supposed to do or not, there's no criticism here. I'm just saying what's best. Go on back again, just a tad, and watch how the right tackle enters contact on the 3. There's no chance of a negative play there. Where there's a chance of a negative play, 51 can get up in there and penetrate. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Everybody's not going to have number 11. And I don't think this kid that's blocking the penetrator, I think he's making an error.
Sure.
And to decrease the probability of having a penetrator, because most returners in the league, that number 51 is going to make that play.
When he comes free off of this.
Absolutely. Especially if, the more you stem it, the more you hold that front side. But the less likely you're going to get outside of everybody. So you better really be fast. And most guys are not that fast. Now, if you go back again one more time, the key block on this, the guy that does a phenomenal job is the right halfback. Watch how long he sustains that block. And then watch what he does. That's unbelievably well coached. Look who it is. Look what number it is. It's number 27.
27 again.
This doesn't happen by accident, that a lot of the great plays are by their best players.
So that's Dwayne Washington.
Yeah. This return right here is so good. If you could take a snapshot of it, you could hang it in the Louvre. Watch the way they enter contact right there. Boom, boom, boom. Right at the point. See how everybody's square and they're entering contact? They're denying penetration, and they got the ability to sustain the block because they didn't give the guys an edge. Now this guy's really running, a stretch play. And the way he goes up in, he allows those 2 inside blockers to hold their blocks. Then he bounces. Then he stretches the R1 and 2. Then he goes inside of them.
See this from the end copy. This is special.
Yeah. It's tremendous blocking and it's tremendous running.
So again, we're going to see these 3 enter into contact here.
Now, notice how hold it right there. This is pretty much the same play. And I said 51 before. It might have been 21. You see how much squarer that guy is to his block. And you remember the play before he built way to the inside and the guy penetrated and then missed the tackle at the 15. This is so much safer to eliminate negative plays, to where when the offense is running out there, everybody's not bitching, geez, so whiz, we got to start inside the 20 again. This denies penetration, and it's just as effective for the returner. In fact, it's more effective, I think, because it doesn't flatten him out as much. Now he can go in or out.
And I just like how he manipulates here the force player.
Oh, he stretches.
Showing him he's coming out, forcing him to go expand and cover that. And now he's created this opportunity where the kicker is not going to catch up to him.
Right.
And he gets to take that thing forward. Really special stuff there.
And you know, this stuff can be coached, and probably is coached to a great degree. It's not just 11's talent. You know, he's doing some really great stuff that you can coach. You know, the stick step, the stretching it, and then turning inside when you see you can't get outside.
So just want to show you this picture here as these guys look to set up. Because we don't get that same thick hit there. Again, he gets himself too far inside and allows that penetration.
Yeah. So really not good. And how he comes out of this, because the R3, you know, right there, how he gets past the 20, you know, that's a Houdini type act. I think the guy, you know, that's blocking the R2 is doing a pretty good job. But the other guy's position, you know, not good.
No.
Not like the play before.
No, not at all. And like you said, there's too many free players. I mean, these guys are free. We do have engagement there, but it's still 4/2, not in New Orleans' favor.
No, and for that thing to go up in there, because I think he pushes it past 25, doesn't he?
Yeah. Right
after
the finish.
Yeah.
Just it's that acceleration piece. As you talked about before, it's his commitment to it.
Yeah.
That changes that, because if he had hesitated, if he had held back, that thing's not getting nearly as far.
No, and that's the thing about the combination of his traits. You know, they're not just speed. You know, it's courage, because right here he's flying into the hornet's nest.
Again, I mean, 3 players, and he's hitting it thick, fighting through it and falling forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that courageous kid. So we look at this one. This is against
or Minnesota here in the playoff game. It's wild card weekend.
Okay. Run it back again.
Sure.
Let me see this. Okay, so if you look at the left center on this play, that's really what you want to do. I think they're all entering contact pretty good. I know the L3 comes out of this with a spin. I think it's a spin. He comes out of it, but no, he just beats the guy. But they're all entering contact. Excellent. If this play is designed to go there, I think the left end, you know, needs to be a little thicker on his guy. He looks like he, you know, gives him a little too much inside position.
Yep.
To create penetration, but they're all really in good position. It was really more of he didn't get beat with position. He kind of just got beat with Minnesota's guys' ability to avoid the block and and the other guy's ability to get off the block. But they all were right in there. And, that's really kind of, from a coaching standpoint, that's the most you can do is get him in the right position to enter contact, have him enter contact right. And then it's kind of like the bell rings, and on the other side is Mike Tyson, and you're going against him. You may know exactly how to throw that combination. That doesn't mean you're going to win that bout.
Oh, I'm right there with you. So what we want to do here is we're going to turn this into, call this part 1 of this series, and we'll do a part 2 here on the punt returns. And Coach, just wanted to kind of get your overall thoughts here, looking at this kick return unit and Harris after going through those returns.
Well, again, we're culminating everything we said and putting it in one piece. His knowledge of how to set the coverage, his knowledge of coming at a guy and stick stepping him to freeze him to break opposite is really something that's hard to do. I know, because I've tried to teach it on a lot of. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. And he can do it. But the thing that sets him apart is his just outstanding speed and burst, and his willingness to fly up in there. Because guys coming off those blocks, and he's flying up in there, he's little. I mean, he's little. He's taking 235, 240-pound guys and pushing the pile.
It's
an
impressive display.
And they're really diverse in that we've seen they're able to attack anywhere on the field, middle, left, or right. And that's another. I mean, there's a lot of times those twos are collapsing, compressing the field, and then he outruns them. So they're kind of feast or famine. Do I stay really wide, and then there's more seams? Then he stretches me and turns it inside. So he's, again, you tell me to throw the jab. Every time I throw it, he hits me with a left hook. What am I supposed to do? A lot of it's, just talent, but a lot of it's well coached. They've really done a good, because he's a rookie. And I'm sure Assumption did a great job with him too.
Yeah, he's coaching. Pretty special.
They've come out with 2 great special teams players. The kid that kicked at LSU last year in 18 was a kicker for him and transferred to LSU. And basically turned their season around in 18. And then they got this kid. So Assumption's done a great job. And then I think the guys' position and their ability to sustain, because it takes effort to. It looks like they're just kind of both standing in there, but they're both on a sumo type effort. I mean, they don't look like they're moving that much. That's because the other guys resisting them, and they're sumo on them, and getting them off the circle. And it takes a lot of energy to do that, and they're motivated. And when you're with a good team, you're motivated.
Sure.
So they know that. They know. I mean, a lot of people think when the season starts they're going to go to the playoffs. They pretty much the last 8 years know they're going, and that's a tremendous boost too. So they have a lot going for them. I think it's a detriment to other teams to not be full speed ahead, because you don't have that advantage of knowing you're going to be a great team. But that's a personal thing players have to decide on. They should be going hard no matter. They should be going hard if they're playing a racquetball game after school, with one of their PE buddies. They should be going hard with it.
No doubt.
Everybody doesn't. Everybody doesn't. But most of the guys in the NFL do. I'll say that.
You don't see a whole unit pull together like that. So many of them executing. We were able to, obviously 27 stood out to us in terms of those things. But there was a lot of guys that executed really well throughout the season, and kudos to their effort, and kudos to Coach Rizzi and the staff there for putting it all together. A really good display of what a return can be and how to maximize a weapon, like Deonte Harris back there, and certainly one. So, Coach, really appreciate you breaking down the kick return piece. We're going to have you back to go through the punt return piece. Want to just take a second and thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us here. You can see below different ways you can stay engaged with us. We're trying to put content out that's educational, that can help you guys learn throughout things. Again, kudos to GamePass for making this tool available to people through May 31st for free. Thank you to them. And we look forward to having you back here for part 2 when we go through the punt returns, and again, where Deonte Harris shined last year. Thanks, guys.